North 9 a.m. Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission. We'll start with call to order.
Lucas Richardson.
Here.
Jermaine Sullivan.
Here.
Kathleen Grabowski.
Here.
Jess Stallings.
Here.
And Mary Kay is absent.
Okay, public comment on agenda-related items. None. Approval of the agenda? Is there?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor, voice vote? Aye. Nays? None. Approval of meeting minutes from November 6th.
Make a motion to approve minutes from November 6th.
Okay. All in favor, voice vote? Aye.
Aye.
Nays? None. Okay, unfinished business, we have none. New business, so ordinance review, we asked the city attorney to be here for our questions that we've had in past meetings on the chapter 650 anti-blight ordinance. So Tim is here today to answer any questions that we might have.
Or write them down for later.
Yeah, that's
One or the other.
totally fine. So I know in past meetings, we really have focused on the enforcement side, 650.04B. There's a section in there that says said costs may be added to the tax roll for the property where the violation occurred as a special assessment or a lien against the property as may otherwise be provided in law. And from what we've kind of discussed in the past was that was in the ordinance, but we're not able to do it for some reason, so.
So I think, and I'm not entirely familiar with the way these had gone in the past. I've talked with George about it a little bit, but I'll say, jumping in, I've been kind of touching every single bit of representing the city. So, but this is one of those things that I've kind of had on the front burner talking with George about. So I think George had a concern about a statutory limitation on the fees being limited to, I think, $500. So I think that was one thing that George had identified, and I believe that in the past you had limited the collection for fees to $500. Does that sound familiar? And I also don't know how in-depth you've gotten into those prior enforcements and like what the final orders were able to say on those. I'd only taken a look at a couple so far of prior enforcements, but so I guess what is your understanding of how this is happening now?
I think most of our understanding was that it was very limited. So, and that's still what it sounds like, right? It's
Limited in the amount of recovery that you're able to get and against a property owner there. So,
yeah, I think the only thing, we were told that really, the path to recovering what the city pays for demolitions, cleanups, et cetera, to comply with the magistrate's order was to put a lien against the property, that there wasn't a path to put it on the tax roll and recover it. That's kind of the direction we've gotten in the past. And so that's kind of where we're at. Not necessarily with regards to fines at all, but with cost recovery for city funds used to remedy blight. Again, like on a low level, cleaning out someone's yard, on a high level, demolitions. So the concern obviously is when a lot of these properties, you're never going to collect a lien because it's in line, it's number 3 on the list and there's nothing left over. And then I think our discussions were with cost sustainability, are we able to recoup our costs so that we can have funds budgeted be more sustainable than just taking taxpayer money and kind of using it to clean someone's yard up and never seeing it again.
mm-hmm.
right.
And I know one of the things that I had run into, I didn't bring it today, but there's a statutory limitation. One of the things that makes this challenging is that as with most things, there's a patchwork of statutes that cover this conduct. And one of those statutes says that a city or a township or a village can place a lien on the tax roll, but in that same statute, it says that the city has to have a population of 7,500 or more in order for that to be done. And I think that may have been what George was resting on. And the thing that I'm kind of wrestling with is whether you as a home rule city can do that anyways, because there's that one section there saying, again, that you can do it if you have a population of over 7,500. And I understand the city is just below that by about 1,000 people. It's 65 or 6,300, something like that. So that was a concern that I had. And when I brought that to George's attention, I think he said, yeah, that was what he had found in the past. But I still think there may be an avenue to doing it through your code and supporting it just through your code as a home rule city. And that's sort of something I'm still wrestling with and don't have a final answer for you today. But I'd say that's sort of where I'm at with that.
Appreciate that discussion.
So can we split clean up the blight ordinance and split it to where there's blighted structure and then there's blighted, like the property, the junk in the yard, and have different fines for those?
I think that you could, yeah. I mean, I think you can do that already with the code that you have. You already have, one section that addresses blighted structures. So under 650.02A would cover the definition of a blighted structure. And then the other portions of the anti-blight code here talk about building materials and junk and open storage, and those are the things that you would probably be cleaning up on a property. So, I mean, I think you do have those two things covered. And then under your enforcement, you have both the lien approach or the special assessment kind of built in there. And I think the problem has been in the past that you've taken that to the city attorney and he said, I don't know that you could do all of those things that are in your section 650.04B. So I guess I do think that you have those things covered, but splitting them up could make it more clear if you really wanted to say, just get a lien if you're tearing down a property, but collect it as taxes if you're cleaning up a property. Then sort of clarifying that procedure could certainly make it easier for the public, I would think, to understand what's going to happen to them if they let building materials sit outside and rot, as opposed to letting a structure kind of fall down.
So if we can't really do all of section 650.04B, how did it get on there in the first place? Because don't attorneys look this over before we even vote on it?
I guess it's hard to say. I really don't know specifically how it could have gotten in there, and I think it could be enforceable as it's written. I would just want to, I guess, put it through the ringer in my mind to make sure that, particularly if we're looking for a decision that departs from what your prior city attorney or attorney in the same firm, if it's different than what George said. My usual thought is that I'm not going to walk in and be a lot smarter than George on something. So, again, I would want to make certain that that we've got you on a safe path.
I would say from the last 3 or 4 conversations that this commission's had, Tim, we have kind of a consensus that it would be better to have these 2 items, junk blight and structure blight, kind of broke into their own ordinances or sections or whatever. Because just for our commission's purposes, I think it would be really helpful to not educate those that we're helping with a big anti-blight ordinance that makes it look way worse than, a structure blight looks way worse than junk blight, right? And if we're going to say, hey, here's the city's anti-junk ordinance.
It looks like you're threatening to tear their house down when really they have.
I want to be clear here, just speaking from experience. The majority of times that we have to get a court order to do these things is not because they don't know about the ordinance.
Yeah.
Understanding that our officers have probably been there 5, 6, 7 times. So As far as the homeowner knowing what the ordinance is, my experience is that's not the reason why we have to go to this great length.
No,
Just to be clear about that.
but the junk ordinance, you know, if that was to be a thing, I mean, maybe that would be a softer way to approach a homeowner, and, you know, just by providing them that information, I think. I don't know, that's just my thoughts.
And I can talk with the city manager about splitting, basically taking this and sort of, like we had talked about at the last city council meeting, sort of splitting it in two and having two separate ordinances that would basically do the same thing. And throughout that procedure, I'm gonna keep kind of working with George and checking with some other sources to see what more you can do to enforce what you already have. Because I think you already have the language in there that you want for collecting on the tax roll. It's just that there's a complicated statutory network of different authorities to do things, and some of them are limited by population, like I had said, so I'd want to make certain that we're on proper footing to move forward with that. And then I think the other aspect is, I guess just the fact that, like we had talked about, the challenge of collecting money with a lien when, particularly if it's a residential parcel and you spend the money to tear down a house, and if you do have to collect that as a lien, that's a challenge, because there could be a mortgage on you in front, and even if there isn't a mortgage, maybe not a problem today with property values going the way they are, but you're not always going to be able to recoup the cost of demoing a house with the, you know, sale of the land.
We also, since we're talking about combining and kind of separating some things, we've also talked in past meetings too about this, was it the safety, sanitation, and health ordinance? That one has a lot of blight connections to it, and we got a little bit confused, I think, when we were reviewing that one.
Didn't this group bring a recommendation to council via the ordinance committee to consolidate some of these?
Yes.
Do we know if that one was specifically referenced in that consolidation?
They separated some of them, or moving some of them around and condensing it, so.
Okay.
All right, I have one more question. So we've talked about in the past, and I think I was told that we couldn't do this, but I was just wondering if there's a different way that we could go about doing it, but trying to carry over certain blight cases to new property owners seems to be a common issue. Like if there's a blighted structure that's going through the procedure and then it sells, and then the city police officers have to restart the blight process, is there a way that we could kind of refine that to make it so there's not an ever, you know, ending case?
So I believe in the past, I've sometimes cited the property in addition, as a party in addition to the owners of the property, so you get sort of in rem relief against the property itself. And I'm not certain whether that would carry over to new property owners, but I know that's an approach that I'd taken in the past. Getting a house torn down was, again, it's sort of like Josh is probably familiar with when you have a case, the people versus $10,000 in cash or something like that. Mm-hmm. Those types of cases where you're including in the subject matter. So that's something I can look into and see if that would help with that continuity if you have new property owners coming in and they're continuing the same blight conditions.
Okay. Yeah, that's I think that would help a lot in more than just the structure blight too, because if you had just a vehicle, a junk vehicle or something, and they were gonna sell the house or the property with that still on site, how do you get that remedied?
One of our safe built workers, I don't remember which one it was, but he had referenced the city of Muskegon or Muskegon Heights or somewhere in Muskegon. They had a city ordinance that required the person transferring the property to provide something to council or something either a plan to remedy the blight or to remedy it. Let me do some research on what that ordinance is. We had referenced that last year as a way to, this commission's talking about is the way to stop the perpetuation of blight. Let me dig into that and see who has that. Maybe, I think it was the city of Muskegon. Let me look in that.
I think I remember seeing that too.
Now, they obviously have a robust, I mean, I think they probably have a blight commission and all these different things, but let me see if there's any value. If I can find the ordinance, see if there's any value in that ordinance.
Comments or questions for Tim? Good, Jesse, you good? Kathy? Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. I can actually go, and then you guys can save some money. Or save some time or something. Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Perfect, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So the next item here, we don't have to review the bylaws right now, but I wanted to bring up, we should probably in the next meeting, look over the, bylaws as our annual bylaw review, and, just one suggestion that I have kind of noticed, and just having a smaller commission, maybe it would be worth considering having a couple more members, now that we're a little bit more established, so we can discuss that, in the next meeting. So if you want to take the time to, go through these and see if there's anything else that we should discuss or recommend for next meeting, that'd be great. And then also, I was approached by the city manager, about the NRBC's, annual presentation to city council. So I put that on the agenda. If there's anything that the group thinks I should, touch on for topics, ask any questions or get any recommendations from council, so. No, kind of putting everybody on the spot, but I guess, if you don't have anything right now, just think about that for next meeting, cause the presentation's in February.
Okay.
So. So I'll put that on next meeting agenda too. Alright, I guess we'll open for public comment limited to 5 minutes. Is there any public comment?
Hi, Seth Pratt, 355 2nd Street. I'm also the 5th District City Council member. I'm here today to thank you guys for the mural and taking care of that for the artist. I understand that, you know, it was just an error. It wasn't necessarily done intentionally, but I'm glad we were able to remedy that. And I know that took volunteers and city workers, so I'm really happy to see that. One thing I would like, though, for you guys to consider is possibly releasing a statement on the city Facebook page. If I recall correctly, when that mural went up, we released a statement, and it actually referenced that the photograph was a photo taken by a police officer. When you read this post out on Facebook, and people are entitled to write whatever they want on social media, but people are blaming the artist. They're calling her a Grinch. They're making very inappropriate comments, and I really think that as a city and as a commission, we should stand behind that artist. Again, the intent wasn't there, but she did have a right to protect her work. And at the end of the day, by not releasing a statement, we're allowing the community to make judgments and interpret that however they wanted without an official statement being released, saying that this was an error, we're gonna take care of it moving forward. So the artist is still under a lot of criticism for that. I've had several people reach out with concerns about the painting next to that one that wasn't covered up. I don't wanna discuss that publicly, but if you could tell me who to contact, I can pass those concerns along, because I don't think I'm the appropriate person to answer that as a council. I'd like it to come before this commission first, but I'm not sure who to direct that at. So if you could follow back up. Lucas, you had mentioned the council meeting coming up. With it coming up, and it's gonna be like right before budget season kind of starts, is there a way you could give council a breakdown of the projects you've done and the amount of money it's cost, just so that moving forward, if you guys would like more money or something, we can help allocate for that on your guys' behalf? So, and I want you guys to know blight's not an easy thing. I get that. One thing I had mentioned at a council meeting before, and I'm just hearing it, you know, sometimes it's hard when you get people that inherit a property that's been an issue and starting that all over. But years ago, we did awards for citizens that were fixing up properties and things like that. There's so much research behind positive reinforcement and acknowledging that. I don't know what the cost of an award would be. I can't imagine it'd be that much. If that's something that, you know, private people would have to donate for, I'd be more than willing to possibly donate towards that. But I think it might go a long way to start handing out awards and acknowledging people that are fixing up things. And it doesn't have to be that you've totally restored a whole Victorian home. It could be that you've done a really pretty garden in your front yard. It could be small things, but those small things start having a huge impact. And once one person starts fixing up their property, many people on the street, I think, would follow. So it might be something worth considering, because that would probably have very small costs but reap larger benefits. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, go to the order. We'll start with you, Jermaine.
I don't have anything. I'm just getting stuff around for the senior center. So some plans of what we can do and see if some people want to donate a few things to it. So that's all I have for that.
Kathy?
I think things are going real well. I'm glad that, that people understand that the mural was painted in good faith and enjoyed by a lot of people, and, we all learned a lesson. I think, you know, people miss it, and, going forward, we're gonna do more. So the mural's correct.
That's for the commission to
Okay.
decide, yeah.
That's what I would like, because I think it's a great idea. That's all I got.
Keep on keeping on.
Okay. I want to, I guess, respond to Councilmember Pratt about the awards and recognition. We have talked about that in past meetings, and I think that's a good idea. We do have to find a way to do that, because what we've been told, we can't spend public funds on like an award or whatnot. So I think that's in the works. We should definitely consider try to have like some sort of way to do that, to have like a competition or something. And also, good recommendation for the presentation. I will definitely bring those to council. I don't have anything else other than that. So, Mary and Chief Glass, do you have anything?
Just a couple of things. Number one, I think that this group has done a great job this year with projects, so you should have plenty of photographs and projects to showcase to council. Just a reminder that, you know, it's kind of our off-season for blight enforcement, so really, I would encourage this group to really start getting into some ordinances if we want to make a recommendation to council for changes. It sounds like that's already happening at the ordinance level, the city council ordinance committee, but this is really where the meat of that work happens in the wintertime. And then finally, the city manager and I and the new building official are looking to huddle up very soon to see what the blight enforcement process looks like moving forward. We haven't had a building official since Mark Neeson, so it's been quite a while, so I suspect that'll look a little different, but once that is settled, to make sure this commission knows what that process is. I suspect that will be the building official focusing on structural blight, since they're a licensed contractor, but we'll make sure that this commission knows what that path and process looks like.
Great. Thank you. All right, take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second.